Yeah, so this is my second attempt at doing this. The first time, I was talking for like a whole minute before I realized I forgot to turn the microphone on. So, yeah. Hello, welcome back to the Digressor. This is my second minisode. My first one that is not an introduction to the minisodes. It's the first episode, first minisode about something. And for this one, I will be talking about the Rocky franchise. I actually just finished watching all 8 films in the Rocky franchise. That's Rocky 1 through 5, Rocky Balboa, Creed, and Creed 2. I actually bought them all on Blu-ray, so I could watch them all. I don't even think they're streaming anywhere, so I think the only way to watch them is to buy them physically. I never looked to see if I could stream them. Probably should have looked that up before I bought them. But point is, I'm a huge fan of the series. I first watched them like 10 years ago. I actually, before I watched them, I actually there was Rocky and Rambo. I thought they were the same thing. There were Sylvester Stallone. I knew that, and they were like they were in my mind they were the same thing. And then I watched them. I actually did back to back. I watched at the time there were the 6 Rocky films. That was all the way to Rocky Balboa, and I watched those, and then I watched the Rambo trilogy. I think there's only 3. Well, at the time there was no, because there was the 4th one. um, okay, Rambo has it has an issue with its naming convention. There's First Blood, Rambo 2. Uh, okay, second. Well, I don't remember the names. I remember that they're weirdly named. Like there's no consistency. Rocky, on the other hand, I had to. Okay, so out of the 2 franchises, I prefer Rocky. I've only seen the Rambo series the one time, and I've seen Rocky all the way through. Not including Creed, I've seen Rocky 1 through Balboa like 4 times. Up until now, I'd seen both Creeds once. I actually went to the theater to see both of them when they came out. And so just now, I actually just watched 1 and 2 back to back. And then I started recording. And so now I've seen them both twice. And so, yeah. But this is the first time I've seen the entire series all at once. Not in one sitting. It's over the course of the past week. I watched all of them. It wasn't. I don't have that kind of time to watch 8 films in a row. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I I was gonna say I'm surprised it's not as popular as it should be. It's a really popular series, but I don't hear it talked about as much. Everyone talks about it like, oh, it's a great sports movie. It's a boxing movie. I don't see. I'm not big into sports. I don't really like sports. Um, I don't like boxing. I don't consider it a boxing movie. It's a movie about a boxer. In fact, the 5th one doesn't really have much boxing in it. It has some street fighting at the end. Tommy Gunn. It shows Tommy Gunn doing his boxing thing all the way up to the top. But Rocky himself doesn't really box. So like that shows that the series isn't about boxing. It's about Rocky's life. And so yeah, when they and see watching Rocky Balboa, it's a little uncomfortable because he was in his 60s, I think, and he's getting the crap beat out of him by this other fighter. And it's just like I don't want to see him get beat up. I want to see his story continue, but I don't want to see him get beat up anymore. So that's why I was excited when they announced the Creed series. Well, it's going to be a trilogy. I'll get to that. And when they announced Creed, I was excited because we get to continue his story without seeing him get beat up. So that was exciting because even if they do like a Rocky movie with absolutely no boxing, not even related, just his day-to-day life, furthering his story, what happens next, I would totally see that. I don't care about the boxing part. I just want to see his story. I actually did a tweet the other day. It was a thread. It was a two-tweet thread. I'm actually going to read this. Did somebody? No. Okay. I have to find it. It shouldn't take me long to find because oh, there it is. Perhaps my least favorite fictional character in cinematic history is Paulie from the Rocky franchise. He has to be the most unlikable character ever created. Always has to complain about everything. Heck, he's the reason that Balboa's lost everything. Let me talk about that. So, I don't like Paulie. I actually know a few people that are like him, not to that extreme, but I know people that are like Paulie. They completely unlikable. They complain about everything. Um, just if you've seen the movies and you know Paulie, the character, which is Adrian's brother and Rocky's best friend, then you know what I'm talking about. Then, yeah. Next, the second tweet in the thread. Funnily enough, perhaps my favorite fictional character in cinematic history is Adrian from the Rocky franchise. She starts off super shy and barely even talks in the first movie. By Rocky 5, she's grown so much as a character that she isn't afraid to call Rocky out on his crap. Yeah, so Adrian is awesome. Like, if you want to see character development in fiction, look at Adrian. Because, like, seriously, when you first meet her, she barely speaks. And, like, heck, even by the end of the first movie, she has enough confidence to stand up to Paulie. And she's not afraid of him anymore. And by Rocky 5, like, when they're in the street, and, like, she yells at Rocky in Rocky 3 on the beach, and then she does it again on the fifth one. And she's the one that motivates him to keep going. And I think that's great. She kind of takes over from Mickey in a way. Because, like, in the first two, Mickey was the one that yelled at him to keep going, and it was Adrian. So it kind of made sense. What's kind of interesting is in Rocky Balboa, they decided to kill off the character of Adrian between Rocky 5 and Rocky Balboa. Adrian has passed away. She actually passed away 3 years before the events of the movie. It says on our gravestone because it came out in 2006, and I think she passed away in 2002 or 3. I don't know, but it was only a couple of years. But what's funny? Well, it's not really funny, but the actress, I think it's Talia Shire. I don't really remember. Hey Google, who played Adrian in Rocky?
Adrian Penino was played by Talia Shire.
Yeah, she's still alive. They decided to kill her off, and that was a creative choice. Usually, when they do something like that, and like a movie, like an old movie gets a new movie made, and they kill off a character, it's because the actor died. Like when they announced Black Panther 2's title is going to be Wakanda Forever. They're killing off T'Challa's character, and it's because well, that's awkward. I can't spoke. Yeah, he passed away, so they're killing off his character. Bozeman. I was like, I can't keep going if I don't say his name. But yeah, usually that's that thing. Well, if the actor dies, they kill off the character. If the character's dead, it's because the actor died. They decided to kill off Adrian, and when I first got to that movie, when I was marathoning them years ago, I was like, why would they do that? Because I was like, oh no, she died, and then I looked at I literally paused the movie the first time I watched it and looked her up. Like, when did she die? Wait, she's still alive? Oh, come on, why would they do this? But, like, you watch the movie and you realize, oh, because like she was his motivation, the one that kept him going. He needed another motivation, and it actually kind of helped the story. As bad as it sounds, she was my favorite character in the whole series, but unfortunately, that helped. And then in Creed, they decided to kill Polly off. Hey Google, who plays Polly in Rocky?
Paulie Penino was played by Burt Young.
And he's still alive. They decided to kill him off, and I'm not too upset about that. Um, I I can't imagine how he would have furthered the story of Creed. I mean, it was already complicated enough. I was actually surprised how because I liked the idea of Creed. It was furthering Rocky's story. He's training Apollo Creed's son. I was kind of feeling I before I watched it, I thought it was just going to be like, oh, we're going to tack on this little story at the end of Rocky's life. It's not going to be a big deal, but it kind of was. There was a lot crammed in there. A lot happened in that movie. He went through a lot. Adonis Creed did, and yeah, like throwing Paulie in there, it would have really made things even more complicated. And well, Creed 2 is like even more complicated, like because Adonis really goes through a lot through that. Like holy crap, like he almost dies halfway through. So yeah, like it's not some small story tacked onto the end of Rocky's life. It's technically it's a whole other series. It's their Creed trilogy, and I think Sylvester Stallone is wanting to hammer that in the it's a separate series technically because looking at the future of the series, the there's two directions I'm seeing here on the Wikipedia. Creed 3 is announced and it has a date. Uh, let's see, there's the date November 23rd, 2022, so next year. And there's no story given yet, but there's a professional boxer who's decided to go into acting, and he is like really interested in playing Clubber Lang's son. And Sylvester Stallone and Michael B. Jordan, who played Creed, they're also interested. They're like, that's a good idea. So, and they're the ones writing it. And Michael B. Jordan he was actually hired on as the director, so he's gonna direct Creed 3, and we're probably going to see Mr. T again as Clubber Lang, and that is awesome. And yeah, um, the thing that kind of worries me though is when they announced Creed, the first one, they said no, it showed in the trailer. Rocky's in the hospital. Something's wrong. Oh, he's gonna die in this one. That is good. It's a passing of the torch to Creed, but then the movie ends. He's still alive, and then so it's like, oh, Creed 2 is going to be the one where he dies. Movie ends. He's still alive, and so, um, but what they announced is in Creed 3, Sylvester Stallone will not be playing Balboa. So what that tells me, based on the past films and what they've done, is they had Adrian and Paulie die between films. So I'm thinking since technically this isn't Rocky's story, this is Adonis' story. Rocky probably passed away between films. I'm actually imagining that like the film will open with like a news broadcast announcing the passing of boxing legend Rocky Balboa. So I mean it'd be kind of dramatic, and I don't I don't know what I think about that because like you would think we've seen this character so much you don't want to see him die off screen. So yeah, like they're doing a new Indiana Jones and they're probably going to kill him off. And I've always wondered what would kill Indiana Jones. So, but like with Rocky, we still don't know what killed Polly. Like I was curious. I was waiting because I remember the first time I saw Creed, it showed Polly died, and I was like, oh, we're gonna see how he died. Because when Adrian died, she died of ovarian cancer, and we never found out how Polly died. I even looked on the Wikia page, the fandom page for Rocky. How did Polly die? Don't know. So are they just gonna say, "Oh, he died"? Oh, I mean, he had cancer, and he had the lymphoma in Creed. But there's a throwaway line in Creed 2 where Creed said, "I took care of him when he had cancer." So it went away because they didn't bring it up at all. Like they didn't show him in the hospital, like doing chemo or anything. Like it's just done. So I mean, it's just that throwaway line. Otherwise, if it wasn't for that throwaway line, it's like they're just gonna forget that even that was a thing. What? Why not even address it? Like open it up, open the film with him getting getting all clear from the doctor. Otherwise, it's like what? But like they'll probably say, "Oh, it came back and took him out," or something. I don't know. But just based on the fact that Sylvester Stallone will not be reprising his role, tells me that Rocky probably passed away between the films. However, there is an alternative scenario here. I'm just going to read this. In May 2019, at the Cannes Film Festival, Sylvester Stallone announced an idea he had about another story about Rocky Balboa. In July of the same year, Stallone confirmed that a sequel follow-up to the current film series is in development. The project will be a joint production venture between Winkler Films Production and MGM. Stallone will serve as writer in addition to starring in the film. Conceptualized as an epilogue story, the film is said to be about Rocky befriending a young fighter who is a foreigner stuck illegally in the United States. Stallone states, Rocky meets a young, angry person who got stuck in this country when he comes to see his sister. He takes him into his life, and unbelievable adventures begin, and they wind up south of the border. It's very, very timely. In May 2020, Stallone stated that he is still working on the film, though it has not yet been officially greenlit by the studio. Okay, I haven't seen Rocky Last Blood, but that sounds like Rocky Last Blood. Anyway, I hope they don't do that. Because it kind of throws off the film series a little bit. That's basically it is Rocky 5, and then Balboa is technically Rocky 6. You got Creed 1, 2, and 3, and then Rocky 7, Rocky 10. What would you call it? What would it be actually? Like you could split the timeline or split the series up? Is Creed a spinoff? Or is it a continuation? And would this additional film be a continuation or a spinoff of Creed? I don't know. I don't want them to make this film. I didn't want them to make Rambo Last Blood because the way that Rambo ended, the fourth film, just called Rambo, again with the whole naming thing. Okay, so Rambo 1 begins with him coming. Ow! I hit something with my hand. It begins with him. The whole series begins with him coming home from Vietnam. I think it was Vietnam, and the whole plot was he was trying to get home. But he's stopped by this stupid cop. He's like, hey, we don't know you in this town, so we're going to attack you. And if he had just let him go home and pass through the town, everything would have been fine. But no. Now, the fourth film, Rambo, ends with him finally making it home. Credits roll. End of the story. It ends well. And then they announced another Rambo. No! No, 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 no! His story was complete! Don't do this! So, I still haven't seen it. I keep being told. I have a few people, a couple coworkers, some friends online. They're like, oh, no, 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 you need to watch it. It all makes sense if you see it. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm not a huge fan of Rambo, so I was like, I'm not that interested in watching it. And the only thing I could think of is like when they announced Toy Story 4, everyone's like, why? Toy Story 3 was a good epilogue. Well, it was a good ending to the story. But then you watch Toy Story 4 and you're like, oh, okay, that kind of fits. So I don't know if Rambo Last Blood would be the kind of the similar thing. I don't know. Anyway, one last thing about Rocky. This is kind of cool. I hope they do this because Stallone has two ideas. The first one is the epilogue movie that he wants to do, like where he goes to Mexico, and then the other one is he wants to do a prequel TV show that takes place in the '60s. It's a young Rocky, uh, and I think like a he said in the, let's see, in March 2021, Stallone revealed that he had started working on the script for a prequel series that will take place during the 1960s, with the intention for the show to be developed as a streaming exclusive with multiple seasons, each consisting of 10 episodes. That actually would sound pretty cool, because when the first film starts, he's already got like an established setup going on, like with that the loan shark and how did he meet Paulie, and we don't see how him and Adrian met. That would actually be interesting because he even says at one point, I think in Rocky 5 when they go back, like, hey, do you remember when I was here on your first day at the pet shop? He didn't say when we met. He said when I was here on your first day. I bought the turtles or whatever. I don't think he would have met her on her first day because how did he meet Polly? And Polly is her brother, so he would have known her a long time. I want to know their whole story. I just really like his story, and I want more, but I don't want the epilogue story, the one that the whole spin-off meeting another fighter because he okay, he met Adonis Creed, trained him. That's great. And then you're going to go off and meet some other random kid and train. No, why? Creed's son is like the ultimate. You can't. There's nothing they can do that would top that. I don't know. I would prefer them do focus on Creed 3 and the prequel show. That would be really good. I don't know what's going to happen after Creed 3. Of course, I haven't seen it. It hasn't been made yet. So, I don't know if that's going to be the end of the series. It's like, if Rocky's going to die between them, then there's really nowhere for it to go. And like, now they're following Adonis, and there's going to be like Creed 4 and 5. And then, like, 20 years down the road, Adonis Creed, where like a 60-year-old. And then, yeah. And then it just goes on forever and ever. He trained someone else 20 years, 40 years down the line. I don't know. I'm just a huge fan of the series, and I wanted to talk about it. So there we go. I'm just gonna end this here because